All right. Hey y'all. Um happy Friday. It's the weekend. We made it. All right. So, we're going to give everybody just a few minutes to come into the room. I know the notifications are just probably going out and we're also running just a few minutes behind, but that's okay. Thank you to everybody that's already in the room. That's my phone coming in all loud and crazy. All right. Hey y'all, to everybody coming in the room, make sure you let me know as you come into the room. Also, tonight I have on my anti-status tee. Okay, those are available in my description link below. Also, remember, anti-status also includes freedom from medical tyranny, medical coercion, as well as other things. So that's a little bit of what we'll be talking about tonight. All right, so I do have Talise here with me. And we're gonna let her introduce herself in just one moment here. I want to go ahead and read this comment that the Truth Lady put uh in the live chat. She said, God bless doulas. All of the prophets were birthed by midwives. No comparison to having babies at home in the same bed where they were conceived in and going through the trauma of hospital labor and delivery rooms. All right. Hey Maurice, and to everybody. I see people slowly coming into the room, but we are going to go ahead and get started. So, Talise, I came across your Instagram profile, and I've been wanting to have a home birther on for a while now. And as some people know that are like regular watchers, I've been talking about doing more interviews with people that I feel like add value to some of the discussions that we are not always having, particularly in mainstream media. And a big part of why I wanted to have you on tonight is because one of the things that was talked about heavily, maybe like 2019 to maybe like early 2020, was the fact that you have Black women that are like 3 to 4 times more likely to die during child labor and childbirth. And I am under the belief that for some reason we only have these discussions when the media makes it popular. I don't understand why that is. If people actually really have concerns about these things, we should actually be coming up with solutions and talking about them all the time. So that's where I come in. That's where I'm trying to fill in the gap. Okay. I'm the type of person, if people keep talking about something, this is a problem, this is a problem, I just want to talk about the solution and move on. Okay. So this is just one part. Home birthers are kind of one part of that. And that's why I have you here tonight. So I'm going to let you start by introducing yourself, telling a little bit about you, maybe a little bit about your family life, and then we're going to get into some questions.
Okay, hi. I'm Talise, Home Birth Queen. I am a wife and a mother of six. I wrote a book, Home is Where the Birth Is, the story of my six home births and how you can do it too. I am on Facebook and Instagram, and I daily share um, pictures and information encouraging women to home birth and breastfeed and to have proper postpartum care, excuse me. And I also have
Okay.
my website where I offer the same thing.
Okay. So the first thing I want to know, you got to tell me, is what made you want to be a home birth mom? Like, let's just start there.
Okay, well, for me, I didn't have a bad hospital experience. I was raised like that. So my mother had me in the hospital and she had a cesarean, but that was only because I was breech. It wasn't emergency. It wasn't anything wrong. And both of my, I've had twins that were breech, but there are so many women who have breech babies all the time. And so I was taught that that's not necessary to go to the hospital because you're having a breech birth. And so my mom did a lot of research over the years, and she taught me that, a hospital is for an emergency, and giving birth is not an emergency, it's a natural function. And so from knowing that, I said, okay, well, that makes sense to me. And I decided to do that with my children. And my husband really didn't have knowledge on it. But once I told him about that and he started doing research for himself, he said, okay, I'm down. Let's home birth.
So, okay, so, oh, she checked out. We're going to give her just a few minutes to come back, y'all. I think she's having some trouble with her internet. Hey, Villain. Hey to everybody else coming into the room. So, tonight we're going to be talking about home birthing, giving I don't even want to just say women, like families that may have not even considered some of these things, maybe considering it, knowing a little bit more about it, because like I said, when certain actors put certain discussions in the media, people want to all of a sudden be in an uproar when they have permission from the media overlords to talk about these things. But I think we should have these discussions often if we actually care about them, the way we say we do. Y'all know what I mean by that. Hey, Akeem. So my guest got knocked out of the room. Let's try to give her just a few minutes to come back into the room. Also, another thing I want to mention that I find really interesting, I don't know if y'all remember this, but I think I may have did maybe like a little content or covered it. But at one point, I think this was 2019, 18-ish, maybe, was that 19, 18, when Serena Williams had her baby and she had her problems with, her pregnancy, and it was kind of like a big deal. And so by that being a big deal, some kind of way Kamala Harris started talking about it, and they were trying to make it like this political platform, and everybody was up in arms. All the blogs were talking about it, and they were talking about some type of legislation of having, I guess, trying to see like what's going on with why certain women are having these experiences that they're having during delivery. And so I one thing I think is interesting is how these conversations disappear and reappear as they want them to. Another thing is we also have to remember that in some ways these things are connected, because a lot of times we where people have questions, you will have politicians coming in rushing, feeling like, oh, well, I have the answers, we can do this to help you, right? But anyway, all right, so Talise, you dropped out for a second.
Sorry
um
about
that's okay.
that.
But I was basically asking, so are you your mom's only child? You're still freezing up a little bit.
Yes, I am her only child.
Okay.
I am.
Okay. And after her cesarean with you, it basically made her more inquisitive about childbirths. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes. So she had heard, other women having babies, that were breech. And so she was like, oh, okay, basically, so I didn't have to have this surgery that still bothers her today. The scar still bothers her today. So, from her start doing research on that, she remembered and was made more aware that women are doing it around the world. Women have been doing it since forever. Hospitals are a new phenomenon, and they're supposed to be for emergency. So unless your birth is an actual emergency, which most are not, then it is no need to go to the hospital. And so
That
she
is
passed that
so
on to me.
that
Mhm.
is really interesting, and I think that's a great thing. And so initially, what was your husband's first reaction when you told him? Was he like totally against it, or was he like, okay, let's see? Or how did he
Well,
respond?
he wasn't totally against it because when we had dated for like a couple of years, so he was already kind of uh being aware to a lot of new ideas that he hadn't heard about before. So it wasn't like he was just like, whoa, I don't know anything about that. But he still, for his part, was like, okay, well, what do I need to do as the dad in a home birth situation? So I was very fortunate in that my husband was open to it and ready to do what needed to be done so that it could happen. And I encourage a lot of guys, because a lot of times I hear women who will say, I want to do it, but my guy is like, he's scared. He still wants me to go to the hospital. And it's like, well, he can stop being scared if he would just educate himself and watch the YouTube videos and read books and talk to other people who have done it and who are doing it. Because like I always say, the baby is going to come no matter where you are. So why don't you just
That's a good point, though. Like, it's coming. You
it's
know what I
gonna come
mean?
out. Yeah, it's gonna come out. And so I like to give the analogy to say, okay, well, how would you like to wake up in the morning? Would you want, a band to come in, somebody busting open the blinds, trumpets blowing, wake up, or somebody playing the harp, good morning, wake, nice and sweetly. And so I'm like, think about that. This is the baby's first introduction into the world. Would you want a hospital or would you want a home where you can control who's there, the temperature, what kind of smells and sounds they hear? It's being in a dark, quiet place because that's where they're coming from. So that's my
Okay,
opinion.
that makes sense. And so you have six beautiful children.
Thank
Is that correct?
you. Yes.
And how old is the oldest and how young is the youngest?
I have 10. My oldest daughter is 10. The baby is 2. So I have 10, 7. My son's 7. The twins are 6. And the other girl is 4. So I have one boy. Whole thing.
And so tell us a little bit, out of all those, the six, were any of them unassisted? Did you have midwives? Did you have doulas?
So with the first 2, I had a midwife and a doula, and they were 2 separate midwives and doulas. Then with my twins, I had a doula, and then with the last 2, it was just me and my husband. And with the fifth one, it was me, my husband, and the children. And the last one, it was just me and my husband. The children were asleep for the last
Oh, I was gonna say, what, y'all kicked the children out the last time?
No, it was very late, so they all happened to be asleep that time.
That's crazy. Okay, so what has been your experience comparing? Because one of the times you said you had a midwife and a doula, correct?
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Two,
what
the
is
first 2.
were a midwife and a doula?
Mhm. Yeah,
What
for the
is
first.
what has been the experience with going from the midwife and the doula to, I think you said, just the midwife, to then unassisted?
Well, I had with the first 2, I had a midwife and doula, and then the twins, I had just the doula, and then the
Okay.
unassisted, it was no one. I think that for me personally, if I had another child, I would probably have a doula simply because it would kind of alleviate the pressure and responsibility from my husband, so he can just be completely involved, or he can just focus on the children. It doesn't have to be, I got to deal with them, and I got to deal with you, and I got to do, it's so that way he can just be more into the experience. But that would be my preference.
Did so like, tell me a little bit about your pregnancies. Were any of them uh like, did you have any scares during any of them? Any breech babies?
Well,
Any
the
hospital scares?
no, I didn't go to the hospital for any of them. I didn't go to the doctor for any of them. With the twins, they were both breech. The first one, and I didn't know I was having twins. The first one came out booty first, and then her sister shockingly came out a whole hour later. But I didn't
Wait.
know.
Okay. So all of these times you wouldn't know what you were getting ready to have because you hadn't went to the doctor, right? It was very just, non-intrusive. Um so okay, tell us a little bit about the twins. So you have the one baby. Did the pain stop and you're just chilling, and then all of a sudden it's like, what the heck is coming now?
Well, with by this birth, so this is now my third birth. I had, and this is what I tell women to do. You can, but I would suggest you not just say, hey, I'm gonna have a home birth and think it's just poof, I just lay down and the baby come out and it's fine. There are things that you would need to do consistently so that you can have the birth of your dreams. So for example, I just want to touch this a little bit. With my first birth, I'll say I halfway did the stuff I want to. So I halfway exercised. I halfway did yoga. I did some affirmations here and there, a little walking, and I had a really rough labor with my first child. But by the time I got to my third, I was meditating every day. I was doing yoga every day, exercise, visualization every day. I was very consistent, like, oh no, this is going to be completely different. I was doing hypno birthing. And so I didn't feel any pain. I didn't feel any pain with number 3, starting with number 3. It was just what I would say pressure. And so after she came, I was very, once I breathed, and I tell women, breathe down, like using a deep voice, like, so instead of being excitable, focus on all that energy on calm, focus, just relaxing energy. You want to bring all your energy to downstairs. So after I had started releasing her, my doula came back in the room because I guess she could tell by my sounds that the baby was coming. And she was like, oh, that's a booty. She was like, wait. She was like, you don't have to, be even more slower with her coming out. So after she did come out, so then we thought that was the end. And my husband had put me on the bed and I had nursed her. We wrapped her up. I'm laying there and I realized the placenta still hadn't come out. And for my first 2, the placenta came out within 5 minutes. So it's been like 20 minutes. I'm like, what is going on? So the doula, who had also had some home births of her own, said she thought that I was having another baby, but she didn't want to make me nervous. So she's like, okay, well, just go ahead and push. Like, don't worry about that breathing and stuff. Just, push to get the placentas out. So I'm pushing, nothing's happening. So now it's an hour later. My husband finally comes back and he's like, what is taking so long? So finally she tells him, lift me up and like allow me to squat. And as soon as I squatted down, I looked down and saw 2 little separate individual placentas and some legs and some little chicken legs and then a whole entire baby. And so even just talking about it, it's still
that is like shocking.
Yes.
That is shocking.
Because she was like massaging my stomach, like rubbing me down, very like she was all up in my stomach. But from my understanding, a lot of twins will hide. So that's why she never felt something else. But
wait, so during that pregnancy, did you get any heavier than you would typically be during pregnancy? Or was anything different? Any different symptoms or anything?
Well, the thing was, my son he wasn't even 1 yet when I got pregnant. He was like, I want to say 5 months or something, like they really are close. And so I'm just thinking my body was just like, okay, we just went through this. We already know the drill. So I wasn't like super much bigger, but I did have a lot of back pain. Oh God, I had a lot of back pain during that one. And that was because I was carrying 2 babies in my body. If I had probably tied my stomach up more, that probably would have helped. But other than that, I didn't experience anything because I'm pretty healthy. And so, it was just a normal pregnancy. I didn't have any clues at all.
Let me ask you this: with the breech, did the midwife there tell you that the baby was breached, or did she just instruct you on what to do? And what was the process like to remedy that?
Well, she was a doula. Yeah, when I was with the first one, I was in the pool, and when the baby was coming out, she could see her butt. And so when she saw her butt, she was like, okay, breathe. She told me to calm down because I was kind of like, okay, this is the end. Let's just go ahead and get this straight out. But she was like, no, you need to calm down and relax because she is. So you can't just push it out like, not that you're necessarily pushing. I don't even like that. That's not really what's happening. But you can't get the baby out like you normally would with the energy that you're giving. And you have to relax and calm down more. With the second baby, she didn't say anything. She just was like, just squat me. And then I guess that was the position I needed to be in for her to come out.
Like, so I've just seen, I believe, a video of when the baby was breached. The doctor just, or I think this was a midwife,
Mhm.
just kind of worked the baby out. And it
Mhm.
looked, when you hear people talk about it, it's like, oh, the baby's breached. But when I watch this video and when I hear home birthers talk about it, it's like, yeah, the baby was breached. Like, no big deal. We had the baby.
It happens all the time. Babies are born breech all the time. It is not like, oh God, what we gonna do? It's feet, it's the butt. It's like it happens all the time. So it's not a big deal as people try to make it. And even if you find out the baby is breech while you're close to giving birth, you can do positions. I've seen this one recently where they have the woman laying off the couch. So she's kind of like this. And so you can use your hands to help the baby move. You can think thoughts. Okay, baby, I want you to turn around if you know the baby is in breach. But if none of that works, the baby will still come out. I mean, it's possible for it to happen. So people try to make it like I'm not somebody special or a superwoman where it's like, I did something and no one else.
Yeah, that's true though. That's true. Like, even when we did the title for the video, I know some people are like, "What? Like 6 babies? Us at home? Like, what kind of super saying is this?" Okay, so
Right.
tell me a little bit about like the positions of the different.
Mhm.
Did you use a similar position each time?
Well, I did like the birth ball when I would first start having, I don't like to say contractions, I like to say rushes, or waves, excuse me, waves, where basically if you think about the ocean and the waves go out and they come back in, that's how I like to see
Mm,
contractions. It's a much different visual, it's a much
right, I can
different
see that.
energy when you're
Hmm.
feeling, okay, it's just another wave coming in, or the waves are coming in stronger. So anyway, at the beginning, I would always use a birth ball. That always worked really great for me, moving and bouncing on it and rolling around. Um, what else did I like? I would do a lot of walking. I did a lot of on my all fours. And what would that be called? I think that's the cat's pose in yoga, but going up and down when I would be on all fours. I did a lot of that. Um,
Which one is easier? And did you ever have any of the children laying on your back?
no, I did not. I didn't have anybody laying on my back. I had four in a pool, which I would suggest. And I would also remind people to be mindful when you get up, because it takes all the pressure off. So you're used to a certain weight. And then when you're coming off, it made me kind of woozy. But I would suggest water births. And for two, I didn't make it in the pool. One was the twin I didn't know was in there. And my son, I had him on the floor, but I was kind of sitting up. So if anything, I was kind of laid back, like a little bit back, like kind of reclined position, but I didn't have anybody laying all the way back. And to me, that doesn't even make sense, because if gravity is going downward, I don't see how you sitting like this is going to help. If you're like this, how a baby is going to come out. You're fighting against gravity.
Right.
So yeah, that never even made sense to me as a child. When I'll see people laying down, I'm like, how is a baby coming out if gravity is pulling things
Pushing a different way, right? And
down?
so you felt like the which oh, I'm shaking here a little bit. Which would you say was more preferable to you, the water burst, or where you were, I think you said you did like squatting poses, and
I
then one that you were kind of reclined?
I really like the water. I really like it because it takes all the extra pressure off. It's relaxing and soothing just being in the water in general, especially for me. But I think that's pretty much most people. But some people don't like water births because they don't want to think about the cleanup and all that. But it's really not that deep. But I prefer the water. It's very relaxing. And I like how the baby is coming right into the same, what would that be called? The same thing that it was in. So it was in
Right.
water and now it's coming out into water. So it's not just coming out to the air. It's like, okay, now I got a little transition before now I'm coming out into the air. But it helps make you buoyant. So you're not feeling all of the
The
pressures of
pressure.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
So tell me a little, like, compare. I want to hear a little comparison of the first birth to the sixth birth, because you said the first birth, was a little bit tougher. Maybe because of some of the things you were doing and some of the things you weren't doing, as
Mhm.
opposed to the sixth. That's kind of like, oh, we've done this before and things like that.
Yeah, so with the first, and a lot of women find this out, is that usually with the first, your body doesn't really even know what's going on. It's a
Mhm.
whole new, completely experience. So you
Mhm.
and your body are like, okay, we're trying to work through this because that was 2 days for my first, and number six was not even. It was probably like an evening and a night. It wasn't that long at all. And so,
Mhm.
the more children you have, the more your body's like, the faster the babies are going to
Right.
come out.
Mhm.
And then also, which I love, hypno birthing, which basically puts you in a state of relaxation where your mind is in control of what's going on with your body. So you're not, so to the point where you could be holding some ice in your hand, for example, but it doesn't feel cold to you because mentally you say, "Oh, this is a warm object in my hand." So it's putting, once again, your mind in control of your body.
It's
And
like a
so
mind body connection.
Mhm. And so with my first one, I did not have that at all, down pat at all. It was really just, more my mouth saying, I'm gonna have a home birth and it's gonna be great. And it's just like the videos on YouTube. That's gonna be
And
but
that
that
was
is
not you.
not at all. That is not what happened. Because like I said, I wasn't consistent with everything that I was doing. And so I,
So,
I was
what are some of the things? What are some of the things that you needed to be consistent with? So we know the mind body connection, because this controls a lot of what you feel and what's going on and how you react to things. So we know that part. What about some of the other things?
Well, another thing is making a birth plan. So I encourage any woman and family who is talking about whether it's in the hospital or not, having a birth plan and say, okay, these are the things I want. This is the kind of energy I want there. These are the people I want there. And really think about that because I love my mom to death, but my
Uh-oh,
mom
mom.
was at
Uh-oh.
my mom was at my first birth and she's a kind of nervous person. She
Uh-oh.
worries a
Okay.
lot. And so, she was standing there, she was so tense and she was so concerned and she was so stressed out. And so it's like every time I look at her, she doesn't look reassuring. She's like, oh my God. And that was her first home birth.
Mhm.
So I said, okay, I love you, but after this, you're not coming no births. And she was fine with that. But that would have been avoided if I said, okay, I don't think my mom should necessarily be there because she's gonna kind of be stressed out about it. So, thinking about who you want there, how you want to set the room up, what kind of smells or incense or oils do you want burning, what kind of music, making a music playlist, what kind of music, because with my first one, I had made myself a playlist, but you got to have a variety of songs. So some stuff, I once I got into birth, I was like, oh no, skip all of this, skip that whole shit. I don't want to hear that no more. So having a
Mhm.
variety of music, what kind of foods and snacks you want to be there. If you want to have a midwife and or doula, interview them because that is a very personal, intimate situation giving birth. And so you don't want somebody to be there who's going to make you uncomfortable because it will hinder your labor process.
Mm.
It can, in fact, stop your labor from happening if somebody is around you that makes you uncomfortable. I hear stories about that all the time where the woman was progressing and then someone came in the room and all of a sudden she went from 5 centimeters back to 10. So I've heard that where people have also
Yeah.
regressed with how far along they dilated because the person there is making them uncomfortable. You have to be very comfortable and
Right.
relaxed for that. So a birth
And once
plan.
again, that comes back to the mind thing, right? If somebody is making you uncomfortable, your body, like,
Mhm,
reacts to that.
mhm,
A really, really good point that I thought you brought up is the fact of having a birth plan, regardless of if you have a home birth. And why I say that is because as I learned, for women who, for whatever reason, may not want to have a home birth, they just don't make the decision to do so. It could be insurance, it could be whatever the situation may be, right? Oftentimes these doctors, society, whatever has influenced us, almost forced us to believe that we can't have any say in these birthing rooms and just medicine in general.
mhm,
Doctors can be really coercive when it comes to certain practices, even beyond just birthing.
mhm,
Because sometimes it's like, well, I'm the doctor, sometimes it's like, man, I've been doing this so many years, blah, blah, blah. So in some regards, and it's no shade to the doctors out there, but sometimes you become just another number. It may not be this strong connection to this person, right? So a woman knowing I have some autonomy, I have some power over my body, how I want my labor to be, things that I don't want to happen, things that I do. It could be birthing position, it could be medicines or whatever you don't want the child to do immediately after. It could be skin to skin contact immediately after, so it's just a lot of things um to think about. So generally, so I know your mom was all for you having home births. What about the rest of the general population? Like what kind of feedback have you gotten as somebody that has 6 kids in these modern times, and then
mhm.
two, somebody that has had home births?
Well, I treat my a long time ago, I watched The Secret Law of Attraction. And
Mhm.
from there, this was before I had any children, I decided I was going to treat my mind like it's always pregnant. If when you're pregnant, you're very mindful, or you should be mindful of who you're around, what you're watching on TV, where you're going. You're not getting on rides, you're not, supposed to be drinking alcohol, smoking, doing a lot of stuff that could be risky to your baby. And so I try to treat my mind the same way in terms of dealing with people who are negative about home birth or me having a lot of children or anything in that arena. And I can usually tell very quickly if I'm talking to someone and they start or they making faces or wrinkly. I just completely change the subject. And I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to talk about women who are saying they want a home birth to be mindful to change their mental narrative because our whole
Mhm.
lives, if you lived in America, I don't know about any other places, but if you lived in America, you've been from the time you was in your mom's stomach. If she watched any movie about pregnancy, it was saying you're supposed to be screaming, hollering, it's
Mhm.
painful, it's terrible. And then
Mhm.
she went into the hospital and experienced that, and her friends did, her sisters did, and so anybody else who has a baby, ooh, girl, that's gonna hurt. So I quickly learned to not talk to people about my home birth unless I heard somebody first saying something about home birth in a positive light. And then I would start finding people on YouTube and videos. Oh, they had a home birth. Hey, that's beautiful. Congratulations. Da, 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 and making connections like that. Because not only do you want to protect your mind, but you have to reprogram yourself to say, okay, home birth is beautiful. Home birth is relaxing. You can have an orgasm having birth. You can have a smile on your face as your baby is coming out of you.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I'm just very protective. And I don't really, I mean, I talk about it now, but as soon as somebody comes with negativity, I quickly shut that off because I'm not interested in trying to force someone to who's against the idea. I'm interested in women and families and men who want to hear about home birth, who are interested in women breastfeeding, who are interested in saying, okay, I need to sit down as much as I can after I have a baby and relax. I'm interested in talking to those kind of people. So yeah.
Girl, you gotta protect their energy. I mean, and that's a good thing. I was not expecting to hear that at all. I recently had a young lady on who we talked about her homeschooling and just generally how negative people can be and pushing uh their fears and their limitations on you. And it's very, very annoying. And I hate it. This is the same society that will say, be yourself, be free. And this is not, I'm not putting this on you. I'm saying this to the audience, okay? These are also some of the same people that will protest, talk about how these medical institutions are oppressive, they're racist, there are all these other things, sexist. They'll say the same thing about the school system. They'll go out here, they'll protest, they'll hold picket signs, they'll beg people to treat them nicely. And then the moment you offer even hint at any alternative, you're the crazy one. Like, it's something wrong with you. You're wrong. So I'm trying to create these spaces where I have a lot of people who reach out to me, DM me, email me, thanking me or telling me they're thinking about certain things, they're thinking about certain lifestyles. They want more autonomy over their own lives. They don't want to necessarily, you know, I don't even know if you're still there. You froze up a little bit. Okay. I think you're still there.
Okay, I see you again.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I want people to know it's okay. And also, people need to remember, just like you said about the medical system, what we see today as modern medicine, this is fairly new in terms of history, in terms of particularly us, dealing with, our relationship to America and our relationship to the medical history, and things like this. And so just trying to create these spaces and remind people. And then there's also this racket of, you have a government that wants to be involved or touch every single aspect of your life. Schooling your kids. Now they want all jobs need to be federal jobs, or uh we need to be responsible for all of the medicine and all of the health care and big pharma this and big pharma that, right? It's just all these layers of being, impeded, or being just them being intrusive, I feel, to a certain extent. And of course, we allow that to some extent as well. And it also goes into like our food and all these different things. Um, and so, just wanting to create these spaces where not just women, not just men, not just black people, not just anybody feels empowered because they know these other solutions, these other avenues, these other ideas, these other ways of life, these other alternative lifestyles are there. But like you said, when we turn on the TV, we see the woman screaming. We see everybody having their baby at the hospital, and it creates this idea that it's the only way. So, what would you tell moms that may be kind of on the fence? They're like, I'm kind of interested. I think this may be something I could do, but I just don't know. What are some things that you've learned over time? What is something that sticks with you or stands out to you that you feel like could empower people or help them not toe that line?
Well, excuse me. I think with a lot of people, when they have fear about anything, it's mostly from lack of knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you say, okay, I'm afraid of home birth, well, what exactly are you afraid of home birth about? Okay, are you afraid to do it by yourself? Okay, so would you be more comfortable if you had a midwife who was trained, who has, all your doctor qualifications, and you could still be at home. Would that make you more comfortable? Okay. Are you afraid that if it's an emergency? I don't know what happened if emergency. Okay, well, you can have other people there at your home with you that can facilitate that. I even will tell women, look, if you need to, even consider birthing centers. They have those now in a lot of places. You can go to a birthing center. And then, if you feel you need to, go ahead and make you an emergency plan. If something goes wrong, okay, go ahead and time it. How long would it take you to get to the hospital if you have to? You know what I'm saying? But I would tell women, do research, because it's just lack of knowledge is what people are scared of about it for. So right now, women are very lucky. In 2021, it's numerous videos on YouTube. And not 10 years ago, there was not all these videos. Like I had a birth video at that time out. And it was like, because I know I wasn't the only Black woman, but I don't remember seeing any other ones on there. I'm sure it was, but I don't even remember them, which tells you how little Black women was on there for YouTube in terms of having home birth. But there's plenty of women, all colors, on YouTube having unassisted births, home births with midwives and doulas, having twins, having surprise twins. I saw a surprise twin video the other day. So it's a lot more camaraderie home birth wise on YouTube videos. You can look up now. I mean, I feel like it's doulas everywhere. I'm loving it. It's like it's doulas and midwives. If you type in hashtag doula on Instagram or Facebook, your finger will get tired before you run out of finding people who just have doula in their name. That's not considering all the people who don't even have doula in their name. So it's a beautiful time to now want to home birth. And there's lots of information in books, and certainly my book, I have so much information in my book that's not just talking about just my birth itself. I talk about pregnancy. I'm very detailed with all my different births. So if you want to do assisted or you want to have a midwife, breastfeeding after, what to do after you actually give birth with the placenta and all that. So there's tons of resources out there. So if somebody really wants to, if they're really interested, there's a lot of information out there to support the flow. And the thing is, people are going to find what they're looking for. So it's like they say, if you going through your man's phone and you looking for something, you're probably going to find it. If you want to find information supporting, a pros for having home birth, you will find that information. If you like, you're going to find all that information and say, nah, I can do that.
I can see that. I can see that. The birthing center was a really, really good point for some families that may want to kind of want that mid-range where it's still, you have a little bit more freedom. You can kind of have your, maybe a little bit wider of or more diverse of a birthing plan and things like this, and be able to kind of make those special, unique connections with the people working there. So the birthing center is definitely a good suggestion as well. Let me ask you this. What would you say for people who may have concerns with cost? What's been your experience comparing the unassisted birth to having the midwife and the doula?
First of all, I want to say this, and this might be controversial, but people pay for and make time for what they really, 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 really want. People pay for and make time for what they really, really, really want. All these stimulus checks, refund checks, you have 9 months to have a baby. You don't wake up pregnant and then the next day, poof, the baby comes out. So a lot of times, people say, okay, well, I just don't have the money. I understand. I'm not trying to be rude, that people do have different financial things, but I've been seeing so many doulas and midwives saying, I'm willing to work with people, especially right now, because home births are on the rise with what's going on with everything. So people don't want to be, you can only have one person in the room, or you might not I just seen a paper, you might not get your baby back after you have it, all this stuff. Listen to me. You can work with people will work with you and say, hey, I don't have the money right now, but how much can I give you each week so that I can have you at my home birth, and be serious about it. And people can see if you're serious about it. If you say, I'll give you, whatever I have, people have money for what they want. I'm so serious.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I've been at the coin machine before with my coins. So I understand. I'm not trying to act like I
Yeah, I
don't.
get
But
it.
there's certain sacrifices you'll make for certain things. And if
Right.
that's really, really important to you, then you can do the research and find, okay, look, you're a doula. I found you. I like you. This is how much I'm getting every month. What can we work out so that I can do this payment plan? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
So
I'm
yeah.
so glad you brought that up, and then also what I've told people to keep an eye on is the the doula, midwife, and even co-op teachers and homeschooling teachers. This is going to be a booming industry going into the next few years, whether people realize it or not. With the COVID lockdowns, everything that's going on, people have come to certain realizations. People are looking at things differently. Some people are just from the restrictions, whether we're talking about the restrictions in a hospital, like you were just saying,
Mhm.
uh, to even when you're talking about homeschooling, some of these parents right now, Joe Biden is coming out with this was reported today. No, the CDC, I'm sorry, is like, look, let's get these kids back to school. And some of the parents they're not ready yet. They're not there yet. And so, these are opportunities for women that want to work in this field and women that want to take advantage and use the sources of people working in these fields. And so I think these things are going to be some good things to look at moving forward. And also, I feel like when you start meeting communities of people and also creating communities of people, and you have a strong you feel really convicted about something and you're able to make those connections, I feel like you said, people are more willing to work with you, you know,
Mhm.
to support you,
Right.
because especially if they know it's something you really want. A lot of
Mhm.
times in these areas, this is not like you asking, Dr. Sam or Dr. Phil to give you a discount or something like that. He's not the one working at the front desk. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
As opposed to,
Mhm.
you know, sister or miss whoever. And
Mhm.
it's like, look, sis, I'm working, I'm doing what I can, but this is something I wanted for a long time, to have this child at home. Like what can we do? What can we work out? And I do think people would be pretty receptive to that in
Oh,
some regards. You
and
know.
I want to encourage women who, maybe used to midwife or doula and kind of took a step back, or women who like, should I do that? Because I've been hearing a lot of midwives and doulas complaining because they're overloaded right now. So their
Yeah,
workload,
that's what
they're overloaded. So
I'm saying.
those who want to
Yes.
do, please do, because you are needed right now.
Yes. I'm
Mhm.
telling you, like COVID
Mhm.
has really exposed the truly, truly essential jobs.
Mhm.
Like kids ain't gonna never stop learning. People ain't gonna never stop having babies.
Right.
It's not gonna happen.
Right.
And especially after the lockdowns, a lot of people was booed up anyway. So you knew the babies was coming, you know? I
Right.
mean, so, that's what we have to do. We have to be forward thinking and, helping push some people in these areas that have, the spirit and the desire to be there, to let them also know, even if you don't have kids, I mean, this could be an area of you thinking of going into this field and helping other women, you know,
Mhm.
and stuff like that. But what are your final thoughts? Anything, any encouraging words, anything you want to leave for our guests? They've been saying some really nice things in the chat here. Any final thoughts?
My final thoughts is, I just want to encourage women to birth their own way. So don't allow yourself to be swayed by this, that, and the third. Do research for yourself. Don't just say, "Oh, she had it, I can do it." Research for yourself. Check it out. Look and see. Talk to other people who have done home births. You know what I'm saying? There is an alternative, and there is, my opinion, a better way, to go besides doing hospital births. And I think who wouldn't want to be safe and relaxed when you're doing the most intimate and vulnerable act maybe of your life? I personally would, and I did, and I was safe and relaxed. Even with number one, I still felt safe and relaxed. I didn't feel like I was under attack. I didn't feel like I was being rushed. I felt at home because I was at home, because home is where the birth is. So.
All right, the fun Tatiana said, great combo, ladies. Salute, Rhonda. Thank you so much for the super chat. All right, Talise. So before we go, tell us about your book. Tell us the name of the book, where we can find it, where we can find you on social media.
Okay, well, my book is Home is Where the Birth Is, the stories of my 6 home births and how you can do it too. You can find it on Amazon, and you can find it on my website, www.talise, Talise, homebirthqueen.com. Also on my website, I have home birth consultations. My husband also has home birth consultations for fathers
What?
who
That's
want to do
cool.
home birth. Yes, so if your dude is nervous, he can schedule a consultation because he is a pro. He's done 6. he, he can help you out with that. And I'm also on Facebook, Talise Home Birth Queen, and I'm on Instagram, at Talise the Home Birth Queen. And every day I post encouraging videos on breastfeeding, home births, information, the importance of proper postpartum care. And so those are the different avenues you can find me. So I'm always in my DM. So feel free to DM, inbox me. I'm always there.
I love it. I love it. And I love how you putting your husband to work. You like, you a pro now. You better help somebody, do something. But all right, Talise, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody that joined us in the chat. Y'all, please share this video. Send it to somebody that you know may be curious, may need this information, or maybe just want to share a different perspective. But thank y'all for rocking with us on this Friday night. Y'all make sure y'all enjoy y'all weekend. And all right, we're out. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.